Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Saturday, so that means it's Eric Larsen Day. Hope you're having an awesome weekend. We're looking at the next issue of The Savage Dragon. This is issue number 9, cover dated April 1994. So last issue and the issue before that, Overlord is confronted by Dragon and Frank. Frank gets incinerated, even though there seems to be another version of Frank on a plane flying out of Chicago. What the hell's going on? Who knows with that storyline? Savage Dragon beaten by Overlord, hand burnt off, thrown out of a building and landing on a spike on a roof. So not in the best of shape. Last issue was, trying to rehabilitate and hopefully heal a little bit. But members from the Vicious Circle confronted him and he had to fight them off and stuff. So basically the end of that issue, Rapture found him kind of unconscious once again and brought him to the hospital is what we're going to discover here in this issue, right? Kind of makes sense. Do want to mention something about Super Patriot here. He's on the cover and he features pretty prominently in this issue. Cool cover too. Good use of blocks here. I get kind of a Mike Mignola vibe to a certain extent with some of this in the shadows, but very well done. Super Patriot visually kind of changes a little bit throughout early Image, right? So Eric Larsen introduces him and the cybernetic elements kind of resemble what we saw Eric Larsen doing on the Spider-Man series when Spider-Man kind of has the cybernetic cast and stuff. And it was like an Eric Larsen type tech, if I can describe it that way, right? That was used for his cybernetics. And then Eric Larsen had this artist Dave Johnson draw the Super Patriot miniseries, which I gotta say for early Image, I think is one of the best series and the best representations of the best stuff that Image could do at that point, right? Great art. It was a fun, super cool story about Super Patriot rediscovering himself, obviously. It's basically RoboCop, right? Same kind of concept. Man versus machine, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Is he man? Is he machine? Damn it, I'm a man. So... Dave Johnson had manga influenced art at that point, maybe more so than Eric Larsen. And the way he depicted the guns is kind of what you see here, right? With things kind of unfolding, coming out, and very much manga inspired or 90s manga inspired. So I give credit to Eric Larsen to kind of using that and seeing that and saying, hey, that's pretty cool, and actually incorporating it into his art, because this is kind of more Dave Johnson type guns and stuff that Eric Larsen would do usually, but he figured out how to do it pretty well. Right, kind of mimic the style really well, but he also throws in these extra elements that weren't there with Dave Johnson, with these kind of almost spider arms or Doc Ock arms that come out, and as you'll see through this issue, they basically move Super Patriot around, and you'll see why he's kind of being controlled by something else at this point, right? So he started out as being just a machine controlled by a corporation. He found himself, and now in this issue, he's being controlled again, right? It's kind of a Super Patriot trope, I guess. And again, we talked about Dragon. His hand was burnt off, so that's why you see his arm being this way on the cover here. Amputated. So, starts off with a splash. What a horrible dream, right? Wasn't a dream, Dragon. And he finds out from all these ladies. Surrounded by ladies, Dragon, all the time. And Rapture brought him to the hospital, as I said, so he's convalescing, taking care of himself, healing, and all of a sudden... I like the way this is done here with the page turn. Click, clack, boom! Now you get the double page splash you're usually used to getting on these two pages, right? So you kind of, what's the word there? Does a fake out, I guess, in compositional terms and layout terms. And this, in a way, to me, almost kind of mirrors, is it issue 2 of Savage Dragon or 3? Maybe, yeah, I think it's issue 3. Where he's in the hospital in that issue as well, and someone comes in and attacks him. I think this is very similar and probably done on purpose, right? And again, look at those guns here. He's definitely throwing in those manga-inspired elements and the tubes. Very cool. And you got Dave Johnson to thank for that. So yeah, this issue basically, it's some all-out fight between Savage Dragon and Super Patriot in the inimitable Eric Larsen style. It's the kind of stuff he does really well, right? Chaos, fighting, action, destruction, bullet holes in the wall. I love how he does that here. Some great cartooning, I think. Throws the nurse out of the window, and Dragon obviously jumps out to save her, not knowing that that's really actually Mighty Man. He still doesn't know that by this point, right? So I guess theoretically she could have turned into Mighty Man before and revealed her identity and stuff, but she didn't have to. Dragon saved her. So what is up with Super Patriot? We got some cool, look at the way he breaks down action. Got a cool shot here. I don't know. You know that it reminds me of is it A Dame to Kill For? Which Sin City series is it where the guy gets his face surgically changed? It was in the movie, right? It was in the Sin City movie where he's that scene where he's jumping out of the window and he's just, I think his name's Dwight. No, is it Dwight? I think it's Dwight. Marv is the big guy. So, you know, as he's falling slowly down from the window onto the ground, he's talking and giving us exposition during the movie and in the comic too. So there's something similar to this shot here. Don't think it's lasting quite as long here. And yeah, now we're getting, you know, the Super Patriot using kind of those spider kind of octopus-like appendages there to bring himself down from the ground, from the high up down to the ground, and just makes him look kind of weird and creepier. Really, is kind of an interesting look for him there. Now here's where it gets interesting, because all of a sudden, you know, Savage Dragon has the opportunity, throws a big punch, and this just made it weird and creepy kind of after, I thought, which was cool and fun. Again, you got the Dave Johnson kind of manga guns here popping out, but Super Patriot is out now. Look, it says, right? Looks like he's down. I wonder what got into him. Spooky, right? Because he's got the head kind of hanging down. All throughout, it's going to keep doing that. The head, right? So it's like he's passed out, but the body's continuing to attack, which again is just adds a level of creepiness to the whole thing. This gun here, I gotta say, Dave Johnson to a certain extent, but there's a lot of Walt Simonson and kind of this and the way it's finished off and the texture and stuff. There's just something very Walt Simonson-esque to this here. I don't know if this is, I hate when they do this. You know, is that done on purpose? Some formatting thing? They cut it off there? Draw that in frame. I'm kidding. I shouldn't shit on Eric Larsen. He's drawn many, many more tens of thousands of pages than I have. So yeah, just the unrelenting machine, and again, the creepy aspect now of like the spider-like appendages and the head just kind of sagging there, and, you know, him still coming towards them. Of course, this is going to come to an end, right? Dragon's going to take care of it at some point. Savage Dragon poster insert by John Cleary. Let's have a look. If you guys don't know John Cleary, at least back then, he was kind of a... Hopefully you see most of that. Maybe the bottom part's not as interesting. He was kind of a somewhat of a McFarlane clone. I feel like on this drawing here, he's doing a bit of McFarlane, but also maybe a bit of Jay Lee mixed into that. But he did Boof and the Booze Crew. He did some Satan 6 stuff for the Kirbyverse, Topps comics. Style has completely changed. He does other stuff now, but he's still involved, I think, in model making, something that look nothing like this. But back in the day, he was one of those, you know, young McFarlane clones. Kind of fun. So here we go. Finally, Dragon figuring out, from the storytelling, if you can tell, he's found kind of a slug. So there's these slugs that they're finding that are kind of mind controlling people. So I guess that's what happened to Super Patriot here. So kind of a funny sequence. Let me read that. So, Ray's kind of coming to. Are you okay? I'm okay, I am. And Dragon just punches him again. What was that for? Just making sure. Clever bit. You would do that, right? In a situation like that. I always think it's great, like, how exaggerated it got. I don't think it's fully exaggerated here yet, but the way Larsen draws the Savage Dragon's proportions with the really wide shoulders and the really narrow hips here, like, you're really getting a good example of it, and that would just get it. He would do it more and more, right? You got it here as well. So Rapture's trying to get kind of a date here with going with Savage Dragon. She's kind of pushy about it, but he's like, you know, I gotta have a rain check here, making her wait. So back at the station, the shrew from some earlier issues, basically what's implied here is that they figured out that he wasn't himself. He had one of those slugs and basically controlling him. And, you know, Savage Dragon that issue used chainsaws to kind of take him down. So I was like, man, this guy's still alive. He's got a great healing factor, I guess, as a lot of characters do in the Eric Larsen universe. But I thought this part was pretty cool here. Where Savage Dragon says, Chris, calls him Chris, not the shrew. No hard feelings, pal. It wasn't your fault. Don't let these guys get you down. Kind of a nice sequence there for a superhero-y type comic. I like it. Larsen is the most adept, I think, at storyline when it comes to the Image comics, right? He's the best writer. I'll keep saying it. He's the best at keeping kind of that Marvel vibe and that continuity and, you know, things happening and subplots and whatever. And then you got this guy, Mace, who kind of comes in and I guess he doesn't know that this character was being controlled by a slug. So it's kind of against the idea of this guy being released here and taking, you know, vengeance into his own hands. One of those guys. And all of a sudden, basically, we've got Dragon at home and Rapture just kind of showing up in his room. And I'm pretty sure you know what's going on here. Getting undressed. I remember as a kid going, woo, feeling pretty crazy. And a nipple-less, but definitely naked Rapture. Is that her name? I keep forgetting. Witness to basically, like, there's some sort of sexual subtext, I think, to the way this is represented and the composition and stuff. I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, getting the kind of crazy, gross surprise that Dragon's hand is actually growing back from his wound. And that's the shocker to leave you at with this issue. And Erik Larsen was always good at creating those shocking moments. Definitely when I read this for the first time, it was fairly shocking to see that. At least it was different, right? The only other comic, I think, I wouldn't say that does it better, but does it kind of similarly to Erik Larsen with those shocking page turns and you know, cliffhangers for the next issue is Preacher by Garth Ennis, which I will definitely be reviewing at some point as well. Great series. There you go, guys. That's my review for the Savage Dragon issue number 9. You got thoughts, you got concerns, you got questions, you got answers to my questions. Let me know in the comments. If you are a subscriber and you're still watching, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Hope you're still enjoying the content. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a second for you. It's really quick and it really helps the channel out, helps us get the content out to other like-minded people who are into the same stuff you and I are, namely comic books. So everyone watching, thank you so much and have a great weekend.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at kingcomics.ca, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.